Sandy, thanks for sitting down and offering to share your story about your journey with this neuropathy. And
Right.
as we get started, could you tell us a little bit about how you got the neuropathy and what was it like? What did it feel like to you?
Okay. I was diagnosed with cancer about a year ago,
Mm.
and part of the treatment was 8 or 6 cycles of chemotherapy.
Mhm.
And once the chemotherapy started, I started to have the neuropathy symptoms.
Mm.
Especially, it seemed to be cumulative.
Yeah.
But what I ended up with at the end of the chemotherapy was a lot of numbness and tingling in my feet, pain that would wake me up at night or not allow me to get to sleep. Even when the sheet would touch my foot, it would be very, very painful.
Mm.
So, and I couldn't walk as well as I could before. I used to walk 3 miles a day, 3 times a week, and I couldn't even walk half a block without a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So that's what brought me here. And it's expensive, but if you don't have neuropathy, you don't really understand how important it is to try to get rid of it.
Right.
So.
Well, and it is expensive, but I'd say we'd compare it to what's the alternative?
Right.
And you weren't walking, you weren't sleeping, you were worried about your physical ability, just ability to care for yourself. Your independence was in question, and so there's a cost to that also. So I want you to be honest with us. You did really well in the program, but there were some areas that you had some challenges. So it's okay for the person watching. We want them to know that although reversing neuropathy may be simple in its application, it may not be easy.
Right.
What were the biggest challenges for you?
I think the biggest challenges for me were the supplements, which basically, especially the VasoPro, which I think is probably the most important supplement, gave me terrible diarrhea. And I do realize I wasn't doing it exactly right. So, but you don't have to use as much of it as I was using. But I would highly recommend that you don't.
I'm going to sit down and just go over a funny thing. But in the VasoPro, it's here. And I think with shipping, what happened is this little guy, this little scooper kind of like went all the way to the bottom of yours. And I hate to say it, we just discovered it today. But what you did is you saw, take 1 scoop in the morning and then 1 at night. You couldn't find the scoop, so you got it out of the protein scoop, was like this giant scoop. So you were taking probably 4 times the dosage. And I'm really thinking that might have been what the diarrhea was.
I'm probably pretty sure about that now.
I feel really terrible about that.
Don't feel bad about it. I just didn't, I didn't like it immediately.
Yeah,
and
it's not the best tasting
It doesn't
thing.
Taste great, but you can get used to it. And I think at a lower dose, it'll probably be much more tolerable.
Maybe at the recommended dose.
Right.
Oh my gosh. We looked at the numbers, and I'll see if my editor can put those in here. But the numbers of your neuropathy, the damage to your nerves, is it okay if I share those?
Yes.
Okay. So when we started, you were at about 30% damage to the nerves. That means like a third of them were just gone.
Yeah.
And amazingly, we see this as well. With moderate amount of damage, you had like maximum amount of symptoms. And my big concern is when this goes from 30 to 35 or 40, then your symptoms exponentially get bigger. Now, your doctor knew the likelihood that the chemotherapy would cause peripheral neuropathy. What was his or her take on that? Was there anything you could do for it?
Well, she didn't make any recommendations about what to do for it other than to decrease the last dose that I took. Because I think it was the Taxol, which is a chemo drug that caused the neuropathy. It also affected my hearing. But she doesn't feel that nerves can be regenerated once they've died. But that's not been my experience with this program. And but her only solution was to cut the dose. And she wanted to just completely stop the last dose. But when you're worried about cancer, like I was like, no, we're not stopping the last dose. Wait a minute. So he did have it. But, by then I had already had the damage done because I had been through, 4 4 other cycles of that drug already.
Right.
So
yeah, that's an interesting place to be. It's like, wait a minute, this chemo is here to help save your life.
right,
But she's trying to mitigate, like, yeah, but it's really ruined your life. You're not sleeping because of the neuropathy. We're saving you. So go ahead and cut the dose down. Wait a minute. If you say I need X number of milligrams, why am I going to cut it down and allow this cancer to grow back? My feet feel better, but my cancer's back.
Yeah.
So you're in a stuck spot.
Yeah. And, she, what she talked a lot about with cutting doses of other chemo drugs was quality of life.
Yeah.
And so, which is why I'm here, because I wanted to take care of this as much as I could so that I could walk again and go upstairs again without any problems and sleep without pain. When a sheet touches your foot and it wakes you up because it's so painful, that's not fun.
So so let's fast forward. We're 3 months into the program. How much, what is your quality of life like now? You're walking, you're sleeping, your physical activities.
Right. It's so much better than it was. And, I felt like even after the first month of this treatment, things were improving.
Yeah.
And I can walk about a mile now without any problem.
Yeah.
I can definitely go up and down stairs and have more strength in my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And sleeping has definitely improved, especially in the last month and a half.
Beautiful.
So, it's definitely made a big difference.
Well, we take that for granted. Something as simple as a human thing of just sleeping.
Yes.
But how critically important is that for not only sanity and less irritability and energy, but also how important sleep is for the immune system to prevent future cancers. So what percent better would you say you are since this 3 months of starting this program?
I'd say that I am probably at 90%, so everything's improved in terms of physical activity, sleep, pain in my feet and my legs. And so, I mean, that sounds subjective to say 90%, but that's what I think.
It is subjective. It's exactly whatever you think. So I'll segue from there and say, objectively, we started at 32% damage to the nerves, and they're now down to 12.
Right.
So objectively, I'd have to run the numbers on that, whether that's 80% or whatever, but going from 32% damage down to 12, and actually the left side is coming in at 2% damage, hardly anything there. So that's a phenomenal change. And I really am, actually, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I really need an introduction to your oncologist, because how great could we work together? She can save a life and I can save the feet.
Right.
And she doesn't any longer have to say, well, you're just going to have to learn to get used to it.
Well, it's and that's what she said, I mean, or accept the fact that I could end up in a wheelchair because the neuropathy is so bad that I can't walk anymore.
Yeah, we saved your life, but your quality of life is crappy.
Yeah, and she talked about that. Yeah. So, but I think a lot of Western medicine doctors don't go for some of these alternative medicines. And, I have an appointment with her next month, and I'll definitely tell her how much of a difference this has made.
Tell her too, I'd be happy to come in and do an in-service, which is what the pharmaceutical companies do. They go in and they teach them about their drug. Well, I can go in and teach them about things like the rebuilder and the lights and diet and how important that is. And well, we could make a really good team, I think, to help more people out.
I'll ask her when I go and see if she'd be interested in that.
I hope so. I think she's in the business of saving lives, and she sounds like she's in the business of improving quality of life.
Yeah, she is.
Also.
And I think it would be great to send her one of these reports too, to show
Good
her
idea. I'll do it. Maybe even send her this video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I don't know about you, I think so, but a lot of people who are watching this video right now would be skeptical. They're like, I don't know, I've heard from my doctor, there's nothing that can be done.
Right.
So talk to that person in the watching this video right now. They're a skeptic. They're skeptical. Yeah. Were you skeptical when you started? And if so, what would your advice be for that person?
I was definitely skeptical, but I was also desperate. So, I got past the skepticism and thought, let's try this. It can't hurt, right?
Yeah.
And so that was sort of my approach, was let's see if it can make a difference, because I knew that what I had in my feet, I did not want to have to live with that if I didn't have to. I could have lived with it, but it wasn't comfortable, and
Yeah.
it did keep me from doing some of the things in my life that I enjoyed before. And so, you know, I was a skeptic, but now I'm a believer.
That's so touching. And again, Sandy, I really appreciate you being a great patient, a great person. And that means also, hopefully we can help one person with this video. If we
Yeah.
can help one other person to have their feet in their life and their quality of life back,
Right.
I think what we've done here is would be worth it. So,
Yeah, me too. And I also did just want to say the level of support that the doctor practices provided, and the calls every week, although they were irritated and I sometimes lied.
Oh, comes out now.
I sometimes lied, not too often, but I
love that VasoPro.
I never said that.
Okay.
But the level of support has just been phenomenal and has encouraged me to keep going with this. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And I just got to put in a word for my team.
Yes.
So
it's
wasn't,
a great team.
yeah, it was, I got to say, I've surrounded myself by some amazing teammates, and the health coaches that you got are second to none. You know, they care about people. They really care about people. They love on people. And, you know, we train every single week to get better and better and better. But the one thing you can't train on is how to love people.
Right, right. And it was so clear that, you know, everybody did.
Yeah.
And also, you know, you believe in your program so strongly, it encourages and instills confidence for those of us who are maybe skeptics about it and not sure. And like I said, I'm a believer now. So
well said. Thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
time, Sandy. That
Thank
was
you.
incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like it by hitting the thumbs up button down below. Also, you can share it with a friend or family member by hitting the share button. That's the little arrow at the bottom of the video. You might also want to subscribe to the channel. What you're going to do there is hit the little button at the bottom right side of the video. That way, when new content comes out, you'll be the first to know. Lastly, please comment. I'd love to hear your comments. I will read it and I will respond. Thank you and have a great day.